Come with soft focus as we burrow into the subtext of language. Deep below the supposed subject matter of a conversation is an ulterior narrative consisting often of the ribald, the erotic, the unseemly, and the otherwise unspeakable. Soft focus will dive into this alternate dimension, wrestle this omnipresent subtext into submission, and thrust it into the light. Tonight, we speak with Steve Malkmus, legendary singer, composer, guitar player with Steve Malkmus and the Jicks, Pavement, Silver Jews, and Steve Malkmus. I can't wait to speak with him.
Soft focus. Soft focus.
There's a bathroom block. There's only 2 bathrooms back there and a couple chicks.
Yeah, and they're private stalls. Rock and roll originated on the Mississippi Delta, apparently, according to legend. Your hometown, Stockton, California, is used by Hollywood to approximate the Mississippi Delta in films such as Bound for Glory, Cool Hand Luke, Flubber.
I have a Bound for Glory story for you, quick one. There's it's about Woody Guthrie and the twins. Check out this shirt. Mike Fellows got it for me.
Oh.
Kind of looks like a Suede album cover, but they had some children, Woody Guthrie's children in it, and they had one of the children were neighbors of mine in California. They were twins, and that's when I found out that you have to have twins in Hollywood for the child labor laws to play, so they can work longer.
Wow.
But back
That's
to your
crazy.
story.
But anyway, I was wondering if you growing up in this kind of faux Mississippi Delta had anything to do with your own affection for rock and roll.
Well, no, but we do have a man-made waterway in Central California. It's like Holland or something there. They made land where there was no land. It was called Mudville. I didn't know that they used some of those movies there, but the musical ferment that I grew up in that made me like music in Stockton was more just like hardcore punk rock of like 1980 to 82. I mean, that's why I'm here talking to you, was because that happened. Before that, I was a fan of new wave and heavy metal and stuff, but then that was like the local thing, and bands actually came to Stockton to play, like Dead Kennedys and DOA. That's what led me to really think that I could do it, and that's why I joined a band at that time. An older guy told us that we should be called the Straw Dogs because there was this movie with Dustin Hoffman in it, and that it was really menacing.
Yeah.
And it had dog and straw.
Yeah.
And he was actually a high school substitute teacher.
They're the coolest.
Yeah, that was kind of befriending us younger, kind of cute guys that, not to say,
That's true.
every young guy is cute, probably.
That's not true.
Yeah. At any rate, the early hardcore days were a weird time. They were kind of
Grotesque.
Yeah, they were smart. They were like intellectual kind of guys, and they were thug.
Yeah, it's very
Hammer, want to kill people guys, and sexually ambiguous guys, and very few girls of any sort. And skateboarders.
I wanted to ask you if you are from California, but then you go south. California, Virginia, New York.
Virginia. My dad went to school there. It was the only good school I got into. So I ended up there.
Yeah.
Charlottesville. And that was a nice town. A lot of bands from your area would kind of go there on their way to Richmond.
But so you lived in Dixie.
It's not really Dixie there.
Oh,
it's kind of, but Charlottesville's kind of northern, and plus the school, it's filled with Northern Virginia people, which they're not Southern.
Well, what you don't understand is that Virginia was the seat of the Confederacy. Jefferson
well,
Davis, Robert E. Lee.
Richmond.
Yeah, but so, you know, there's a Battle of Bull Run. All the battlegrounds are in the northern part of Virginia.
I'm just telling you what the vibe was like there. It wasn't so, you know, people said y'all, but there was like a hoagie shop with New Jersey style things, and there was like New York guys with, you know, there was me, there were Jewish people, there were like liberals even, a few.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a college town, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was southern, and you know, I took in some of that. It got hot in the summer, you know, like humid, and there was heat lightning.
Oh yeah?
And like sometimes you'd leave a pack of cigarettes out, and like if you left one out, it would get so wet you couldn't smoke it.
Wow.
That's how humid it was.
That's how southern it was.
Yeah, southern, and you know, there were lightning bugs and lightning, things we don't have out here.
It's a conundrum, because on one hand, or particularly the music of your old group, Pavement, on one hand it seems like a continuation of the tradition of West Coast melodic music like the Beach Boys and things like that, but then maybe it's part of the southern tradition like Let's Active and Big Star.
Yeah, well, REM and Big Star and those groups would be influential to what we were. I mean, when Pavement started, it was it really grew out of major label type acts like Violent Femmes, Echo and the Bunnymen, and REM. But it really started in New York City in this 1990. There was this kind of scene in New York that was really like rich kids playing thug rock or something. I lived there when the band started, and we were, you know, had a California and Dinosaur maybe a little bit, like melodic side, and it was kind of soft and hard at the same time. It was hard to get welcome. I didn't know anybody there, and it was a little bit intimidating because this band seemed so mean.
Yeah.
Like Helmet and STP and Unsane and Pussy Galore, kind of like. Actually, a lot of those groups turned out to be nice people, even though they were really like, I'm tough.
Yeah. People use the word indie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that word?
It's sort of, to me, it started with like Pavement and kind of Sonic Youth, maybe not really Sonic Youth, but Superchunk and I don't know what else, you know what I mean?
So your group represented this kind of shift, consciousness shift, kind of the way that people were looking at music, things changed.
Well, it was a new thing because of the major label. You know, back then it was sort of like, you know, you watched MTV and there was all that music, hair metal and big metal and pop. And so there was a philosophical, you know, choice that like that was all evil.
Yeah.
You know, there was a subculture which, you know, Nation Ulysses was part of, and it was kind of all growing there in like 1989 to the time when Pavement came out into the mainstream, I guess. But.
Yeah. For an American group to be successful, the British have to elect them. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know what you mean by elect. You mean they have to pick
it.
Christen it. I mean, we're so close to them in so many ways. We're so tied to them.
We need them to explain our foreign policy to Americans. Yeah. They always get Tony Blair or somebody to come over and say, well, the Iraq War is very necessary. And
I know.
Yeah, why do Americans love a British accent?
It's kind of, I don't know. It's cute, I guess. It just is kind of, you know, it's a little bit of the other, but not very much of it, you know?
Yeah,
so,
it's a safe other.
Yeah, it's I don't know, you know, it's just, they're always going to be with us. And
better than us. They'll always be better than us.
I don't know if they're going to be better. I'll always be like making fun of them.
But secretly loving them.
Yeah, there's really some great people from there, you know.
David Bowie.
Not him. He's an enemy of mine, but you know, like Gary from the Cribs who lives here, and you know, the innkeeper at the quaint pub that's always got a kind word.
He's really... He's nice. Well, speaking of music, you talk about the Velvet Underground. I've heard you mention the Velvet Underground.
Yeah, I like them.
The idea of the Velvet Underground is that they were underestimated at the time. And there's a kind of self-satisfaction of modern Velvet Underground fans because they all cite this legend of the Velvet Underground not being, you know, estimated correctly. And then, you know, the modern fan, you know, is proud of estimating them correctly. What do you think of that?
Well, you know, I think usually they misunderstand the band. If you like a band, you're understanding something. I mean, I'm not going to say you don't get to like a band if you like them, but you know, it's like their first album, you know, people are like Andy Warhol and John Cale's viola and the avant-garde of New York and Lamont Young. This is the key, you know, that like made the Velvet Underground good. But actually, that was the crap they had to get out of the band. Yeah. Once those guys left, Warhol and John Cale, was actually when they were good. If you listen to any of their bootlegs, and when they were just a rock and roll band. And these versions of Sister Ray without him in it, much better band, you know, much purer, and that's when they were great, and in my estimation.
So you're attracted to a classic formalism in songwriting?
Well, I just think the rock and roll that is the good part about Velvet Underground. Sterling Morrison's ham-fisted rock, and Mo Tucker's just like unironic feel, and not like John Cale, you know, like, you know, I don't need him.
Well, let's
He
talk
can
about...
produce the Stooges. I mean, he did a good job. Maybe he belongs behind a desk, obviously, and not out in the room.
Well, now you're talking about art and a distaste for art. And I know that you worked in an art gallery, and what did that have a profound effect?
I think there's, you know, it's always with music fans and art fans, there's a double, you know, like maybe you want to like outsider art, you know, it's pure and it just comes from unfiltered mind that's just, and we like that in rock and roll where it's kind of primal or something. On the other side, you know, there's a complete respect for really refined things, or just like the genius of the time it takes to make something like a 10cc pop song or something, and or the Beach Boys and everything that shows man's ability to conquer nature or something, you know, and like to make the perfect French garden or something, like in a song. There's something like really repulsive about like Jackson Pollock with a cigarette and alcohol, and I'm primal, you know, like I'm free. I would prefer someone like Jeff Koons or something that just, you know, he made this really...
He thought about it.
Yeah, he thought about it. He made these objects that are like multi-dimensional layers of meaning, and it's very intellectual, but it's goods, you know.
Yeah. I know that you were a guard. Yeah. So do you see yourself as a guardian of art?
No, the guards at a museum just, you know, they're just killing time. You don't really see yourself, you're just earning your check to go out and get a burrito afterwards. You know, pay your wage. So not really like, there was a mix at that museum of, I don't know, people that had been there for a long time. There was a little Jehovah's Witnesses clique, and there was a primarily Trinidad but Caribbean island group, and there was then there were like the people they called the Young White Guards. I was one of them, and obviously, and they were kind of like artists and slackers. And the one time that there was a tragedy at the museum I worked at, which was the Whitney Museum, was when a guard like wrote a note to his girlfriend on a Willem de Kooning painting, and they blamed the guards, They don't know how hard it is to show people where the bathroom is and to know code 1, code 2, code 3.
Yeah.
Code 1's bathroom.
Yeah.
Standing for 7 hours, and not doing much, it's quite a challenge. I think it's good to be a Jehovah's Witness or think about God, because otherwise you're just,
I wanted to ask you, an art gallery is based on the idea of pure presentation of art. Like you put up art in a pure setting. Is there a pure setting for music?
Certain clubs, I guess, but the art galleries are just there to sell art. They're not really that white wall and stuff. I don't know. When I think about the best shows I've seen, it's not going to be like U2 at the Norma Dome or something, even if they're good. When I saw Nation Ulysses at Maxwell's, that was great. It's like you're more direct. I saw a million great shows at Maxwell's in New Jersey, but
maybe Maxwell's is the most pure presentation.
It can be great.
I want to ask you about, you talk about shredding.
Not very often.
Well, yeah, but you mentioned shredding, like the idea of shredding. And I'm wondering about, like, in the milieu that you're part of, is that like a perversity, or is it just a genuine love for shredding?
Well, I don't know. Shredding is kind of a pejorative term, and it's kind of got a metal edge to it, and I don't really like metal.
So you don't really shred?
Not really. I mean, we're pretty melodic. We're like West Coast. We rock. Some bent notes, and I guess, it could be shredding or something, but not like...
Yeah.
That's not I don't really like that kind of stuff.
The paradigm of the Velvet Underground, as we discussed before, was that they were underappreciated. What do you think, what do you think is underappreciated now?
Now it's hard for me to tell. I'm in one of those phases where I don't really know about what is now. The last 2 years of high school, kind of through college, I just liked current bands. And then the last 2 years of college, it was like, I like Can or something.
Yeah.
Back to again, so when Pavement started, I was kind of into My Bloody Valentine or some other new band, I can't really remember. And then, so I don't really know. And then it's been 17 years of just liking Can. Old bands.
Well, that's,
but I do appreciate other things, but I feel like I'm a little out of touch about what's currently being underappreciated besides the Jicks or something,
Yeah.
But there's still good new groups, and I don't know what's real or not, just like I didn't before exactly. But I felt like I did for a couple of years there.
Well, to talk about real, let's talk about real. So I know that you're a basketball fan. Moving to Portland, did you embrace the Trail Blazers?
Actually, I was a Washington Wizards fan
for
the last 3 years. I have a crush on Caron Butler.
Caron Butler.
Yeah, I just think he's
great.
So cute. His eyes.
He's got a lot of heart.
Almond eyes. It's really cute. But the Blazers, when I first moved here, there was kind of a, they had a reputation for being mean and just, they kept getting caught for smoking weed, which most players don't, they just know how to, have a handler, keep the weed somewhere else.
Do you think it was PR stunts?
Maybe because Portland is very liberal and just, hands off, it seems like, in so many things. Maybe the management was too, they just didn't say, hey, don't. And we went to see Greg Oden play the other day. He's a first round draft choice, and there was this love for him that was this raw love, no judgment. We just love you.
Yeah.
And the game was like a Harlem Globetrotters game, my bass player said, in that we beat Chicago 100-50, and there was behind the back alley-oop jams, throwing shots backwards, and they were going in.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is a new era here, it felt really weird.
Yeah. I want to ask you, so you like Caron Butler, and you watch him, and you're watching him, and I like him too, but do you ever think I care so much about this guy and what he's doing, and he probably doesn't have a single Jicks album.
Nobody in the NBA does, I think, you know.
Yeah, they have such bad
If
music.
they're probably, you know, Steve Nash, he's probably, you know, you would think he would be the best chance, and he probably just likes Maroon 5, you know. So and he's like the most avant-garde guy out there. But I'll tell you, Manute Bol was a Pavement fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He called me on the phone. It was really him.
No way.
Because this friend of ours who interviewed us, his dad coached in like Connecticut, and he's like, I'll get Manute to call you. He likes Pavement. He's like, this is Manute Bol. I'm in Kansas City. And, you know, I didn't know what to say, really. I was like, that's awesome, you know, like, I got your number on here. I'll call you back, but I didn't know what to say, you know.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
That's amazing.
So there's him. He's probably the coolest guy. I mean, he's really cool.
He
does work for the Sudan, social work, and he's, you know, almost died in a car accident, and that's cool too. He's really tall.
He's extraordinarily tall. Well,
That's about it, though, I think.
okay, when Pavement started, there was this enigma. And part of it was that your name was S&M.
It was just SM, Stephen Malkmus. But it was just it was like a swell map style pseudonym. But we were into that mystery stuff. There's like two sides of that. Like REM is like, you know, mainstream mystery, which I liked. And then there's like Royal Trucks, which is like mystery confusion on the other level, you know, especially at that age. You know, you want mysteries in the music, and you don't want it all spelled out for you. So, you know, we were doing that kind of tongue-in-cheek, though, because we weren't truly that weird, or mysterious, but neither was REM, it turns out.
Well, that's my question. In the 21st century, in a scorched earth campaign, you destroy that idea, announce yourself as Stephen Malkmus. Are you the mystery now?
No, that's just a move people do. Even, you know, Smog did it.
Yeah.
He's called Bill Callahan now, so it's a kind of a new traditionalism in the Drag City, post-Drag City era, I guess.
I wanted to ask you about...
You're not going to ask me why these socks are tied around my legs? I thought that's what you were going to say.
Yeah, I would like to know why those socks...
My daughter, we were playing this morning, and we just decided to put these on.
So you're teaching her like sailor
She
knots.
wears leg warmers, and like unicorn. She's really into unicorns. I don't know.
Well, who isn't? So, I know that you are the world champion arm wrestling guy.
No, I'm not.
That's what I heard.
No, who told
In
you
fact,
that?
I studied you.
Are you setting that up to arm wrestle me right now?
Yeah, I was
'Cause I have to pee way too bad to arm wrestle.
Well, thanks for coming to talk to us.
Yeah. I don't know who I beat someone bigger than me once by completely cheating, you know, like pulling him back in this way, so I'm not actually good at arm wrestling.
Really?
And I'm so weak now, all I do is pick up children and play guitar. But.
Well, I'm left-handed, so you'd actually win.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for talking to us.
Hey, that's pretty strong. You're pretty strong there. Your wrists are strong.
Oh, thanks.
Soft. Soft focus.